Let me first acknowledge that we have several of our council people here, and I think when Brandon gets up, I'll let him acknowledge everyone. But more importantly, I want to say thank you to a number of people, besides the Able Foundation, who I believe was the funder of this particular project, but also to Councilman Brandon Scott, who initiated this effort, because you know what we really want to do is bring about better conversations with our police department and with our young people, and that really excites me, so thank you for that. And of course, our police commissioner, Kevin Davis, thank you always for stepping up to the plate, and I could not be more excited to see Dr. Sandalisa here, because her commitment to our young people, I know, is absolutely awesome. And then our executive director of Mediation, Shantae Guy, thank you so much. Thank you for all your work. Thank you for what you do. And thank you all both for making this available to our community, because this is what it is about, bringing us all together to understand, as much as we may think we're different, we're very much the same. And how we collaborate and become more inclusive is important. And how we interact with our young people, I think, is essential to the future of our city. And to see this kind of effort come about, and understand that the press conference for this was canceled at one point, but we're here today to say, and I'm glad just to be able to add my voice to how excited I am that police and young people get to sit down, have conversations, and learn how to talk to each other. And while that is happening in many cases, and many other cases, it's not happening. And we want to create a conversation with our young people that they understand, one, that our police are here to protect and serve, and that young people, you know, they are a part of our community, and we want them to engage, and we want our young people to engage with them as well. Now, I actually witnessed an activity this summer in the park with the police department and the young people. I also understand that the police department lost a football game to a community group, and they tell me that the next time they do this football game, they promised me that
they needed me to play.
I told them to recruit some of the city council people, especially Brandon Scott, maybe a running back, perhaps, or even a quarterback, perhaps, the kicker.
No kicker.
No kicker. Okay. But again, I'm just really honored to be here today, because these tools of mediation, I think, will serve not just our young people well, I think it'll serve the police department well also. So I look forward to the results and the expansion and the continuation of programs like this in our city. I think, having said that, am I supposed to take at least one or two questions?
Councilman Scott.
Okay. Councilman Scott.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. And I'll be very brief this morning. Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to acknowledge that we have with us Councilwoman Mary Pat Clark, whose district we is in, from the 14th District. Councilman Leon Pinkett from the 7th District. Councilman Pinkett is a member of the Public Safety Committee. We're here today to celebrate something that's very near and dear to my heart, that is special, but that is definitely not about me. After the unrest, we found out things that we didn't know, but we also found out the deeper issues behind some things that we've known forever. And I think the most important thing that we found out during the unrest is that we need to repair the relationship between our police and young people. There is nothing more important that needs to be repaired in our city between that relationship. So, in the aftermath of the unrest, I'm one person to know that I am not the smartest person that I know. I know a lot of people that are smarter than me. And in my mind, one night, late night, I just said we should do something around police and young people in training. So I sent a text message to Erica, who you will send later. Can we mediate between young people and police? She said, yes, oh my God, yes, we can do it. Can you get me police officers? I said, of course I can. Can you get me kids? Of course I can. So we were able to pilot this at Vanguard, and the results, and just to see when they came into the room, all the police sat on one side except Joe. All the police kids sat on one side, and you could feel the tension. You could cut it with a knife, that they did not have a great relationship, that they did not see each other as basically as human, and that they felt like they were worlds apart. After that few hours was over, you couldn't separate them. And one of the things that still sits with me to this day is, several months later, one of the young ladies that was in that first training said to me, Councilman Scott, one of the officers had to come to my house for an incident with my brother. And because I knew this officer, and I knew that Major Worley, now Inspector Worley at this time, put him in the training because he was notoriously bad with young people, I was worried. And then she proceeded to say, he was awesome. He asked me how his school was, told me how great I spoke during the mediation, and how well I represented myself and how that helped him change. This would not have happened for that officer before this training. So this is very important. No, it is not going to solve all our problems and all the issues between young people and the police. No, it's not going to solve all the issues between our community, because one of the most important things that we are finding out in these is that there's another portion to this. Most of the officers and the young people really don't have problems with each other. It's that person behind that 911 call that is causing officers to come out to interrupt kids when they're playing in parks or just simply being outside, and we have to deal with that as well. But this is a great and important tool for us. It's going to help us break down walls and barriers, and with that, I would like to introduce Commissioner Kevin Davis.
Thank you, Councilman, and thank you, Mayor. Typically, when Councilman Scott has an idea at 11 o'clock at night, it worries me and scares me, but this was a great idea. The Mayor is right. We did lose that community police football game by 1 point, but we won it in a sense because the quarterback for the community team is a young man who is now a police applicant. So, you know, he'll be a police officer by this time next year if all goes right. So. Yeah, and on our team. So I'll be brief as well. I think you know, when we use the word courage, I think we traditionally think of courage in the physical sense of the word, but courage in terms of having a conversation and the courage to have a conversation is something that is very important in Baltimore and America, particularly here post-unrest. So those courageous conversations that our police officers, and you'll hear from Officer Joe Banks in just a few minutes, but those courageous conversations are just that. We have to peel away the layers, and we have to talk about our perceptions and how they affect the realities of the day-to-day interactions between police officers and young people. So post-unrest, this program has been fantastic. 2017 will see 500 additional police officers and young people participate in this very program. So that's huge. We just spent 2016 at Outward Bound, where every police officer in the city spent one full day of in-service training interacting with a young person. Chief Melissa Hyatt runs a police and youth swimming program where police officers are now teaching young people how to swim. So that's something that's new post-unrest, and we've really dramatically enhanced the number of police explorers that we've had. So there's a lot of great things happening in Baltimore between the police and young people, more to do, and we're looking forward to that. And these are all these things, we do it because it's the right thing to do. No one's telling the mayor, no one's telling the councilman, no one's telling me. We're doing this because it's the right thing to do, and we're just going to keep working really, really hard at it. So I think with that, I'm turning it over to Dr. Santelises. Thank you.
Good morning. Let me first say just how much I appreciate the leadership from Councilman Scott, the mayor, Commissioner Davis, just in terms of being able to say that this is a priority for our city. Our young people are a priority. Establishing relationship is a priority. And one of the best elements of this program, as I have learned more about it, as I get the chance to hear from young people, from police officers about the kinds of conversations. And many of you know, as a former middle school teacher, the one thing you learn is that if you are not real, young people will tell you soon enough, right? And they will turn off. And I think it is a credit to the real commitment to be real and to establish real conversations that really is giving this program, this initiative, the potential and the power that it has. And so I can't say enough about how this kind of communication not only is supporting the work of schools in the city, but it is also shows the power of a coordinated effort amongst all of the leadership within the city to empower our young people and to actually give them real life opportunities with professionals like city police and school police. So I just want to thank you for real life work, for being real, and for the commitment that this program shows to the young people of Baltimore City. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. I'd like to thank Mayor Pugh, Councilman Scott, Commissioner Davis and Dr. Santelises, our partners from No Boundaries Coalition, and most importantly, the community for coming out this morning to support the center as we announce a new component of our programming. My name is Shantae Guy, and I'm the Executive Director here at Baltimore City Community Mediation. Our mission here is to reduce conflict and community violence by increasing the use of nonviolent conflict resolution strategies and by making mediation more accessible in Baltimore City by providing our services at no cost. We're a member of Community Mediation Maryland, which is an organization that provides support statewide to 17 community mediation centers around Maryland. So I'm going to take a moment just to discuss the evolution of the youth and police dialogues because context is really important. Baltimore City Community Mediation has had a long-standing partnership with both Baltimore Police Department and Baltimore City Public Schools. After the uprising in 2015, the commissioner at that time reached out to us, asking us for assistance in bringing police officers and youth together, police officers and the community together for a much-needed dialogue. Around the same time, Councilman Scott, per his 11 o'clock ponderings, also reached out to us specifically asking for us to partner with him to figure out how to connect youth and police through facilitated dialogue. So while the conversations were continuing at that time with Commissioner Davis's office around what a larger community engagement would look like, in the fall of 2015, we were able to facilitate 3 dialogues between a total of 30 middle and high school students and 30 police officers. And the pilot was a huge success. In a few minutes, you're going to hear from our lead facilitator and one of the officers that participated in the pilot. Due to the pilot's success, we began our search for funding the dialogues long term. While this search was going on, we secured funding to begin working on the larger community and police engagement. So in January of 2016, we officially rolled out our new police and community program. The program's first 2 components are police complaint mediation and police community dialogues. They started in January 2016. Shortly thereafter, the ABLE Foundation answered our call, and they saw the need to create spaces where our youth and police officers could come together. As a result of the foundation's funding, we were able to onboard our police mediation coordinator, Michelle Herring, who stands here to my right, in August of 2016, and she hit the ground running. She used her 15 years of experience working for Baltimore City Public Schools to connect us with middle and high schools all over the city. We were able to finalize an MOU with BCPS that would allow us to engage with students and officers in the schools. We were also able to enter into a contract with the police department, working closely with Chief Martin and Captain Sturm out of the commissioner's office to bring officers to the schools as a part of their in-service training requirements. Before the school winter break, we'd finalized all 20 dialogue sessions with the schools. We'd also presented our programming to the district commanders in a ComStat meeting. Finally, we participated in 27 roll calls across all 9 districts in Baltimore City. So imagine getting up at 7 a.m., 4 p.m., and 10 p.m. For 27 contiguous days. Thanks to Michelle for doing that. We really appreciate you for that. So in participating in those roll calls, we were sharing the police and community programming with the officers and introduced them to the dialogue sessions that they would be attending. So these sessions are going to bring 200 middle school and high school students together with 200 officers before the end of the school year. At this point, we have summer programs already reaching out to us to have the programs at the centers where they service our youth. This component of the police and community program is intended to reach all existing officers through their mandated in-service training and then to be rolled out to the academy. These dialogues are about real conversations, and Dr. Santelises just talked about that. Kids know. If you're not keeping it real, or as they say, if you're not keeping it a stack, you're out, you're out. The conversations are about implicit bias, about stereotypes, about when young folks have felt judged by police officers, and when police officers have felt judged by young people. It's about hearing each other's perspectives, about working on how each group might change how they interact with the other, seeing past baggy pants and perceived attitudes and blue uniforms. It's about humanizing themselves to each other. We've been very deliberate about asking the schools that we partner with to bring the right mix of youth into these conversations. We want youth that have had negative encounters with officers in these sessions. We also want youth that have had positive and or no interactions with officers there. The dialogues began this week, with New Song Academy being the first school to participate in the program. Many thanks to Amelia Harris for being here with us today from New Song. We appreciate you coming out. Needless to say, Baltimore City Community Mediation is excited and grateful to have the opportunity to bring our young people and our officers together. At this point, I'm going to turn it over to Erica Bridgeford, who is CMM's Director of Training, a Baltimore City Community Mediation volunteer, and our lead facilitator for this school year's police dialogues. Erica?
Hi, everybody. So I heard somebody earlier when Brandon said he called me and I said, yes, we can. And somebody was like, she said it just like that. That is exactly how I said it. I am extremely excited to be blessed to do the work of facilitating these very hard conversations. I often refer to what happened in 2015 as the Blessed Baltimore Uprising. I am a West Baltimore girl everywhere I go. And so I not only understand what we're all saying about how youth really want people to be authentic, but I have also, in my work and in my experiences, learned that police officers have been saying we're not just invisible faces in a uniform. And so because both sides of this conversation have felt targeted and misunderstood, the divide feels really big and it feels really great. And so when the uprising happened, although we do peace work every single day and we bring people together who can't stand each other every single day, it still felt like we must not be doing enough if this is what is happening. And this is a clear message that something more needs to be done. So for it to keep Brandon up, I'm happy to get a text message at whatever time in the middle of the night that says we should be doing more, and for us to figure out how to make that happen. It felt like it was going to be a logistical nightmare trying to figure out how can we get all of these police through this. You know, it means removing some officers off of the streets at certain times of the day. It means children are missing certain parts of their school day, and so how to account for those things. But for Baltimore to say this is a priority and this is something that we need to be doing, it is the reason I love Baltimore. I know that people leave. I know that people don't know how to stay, but I know that Baltimore has the best of what America has to offer. And this is an example of how if there's a problem in Baltimore, we are going to figure out how to fix it, and we're going to figure out what to do about it. Right. And so this is a great example, because we know that the police-youth relationships didn't just deteriorate over one incident and overnight. It's something that through each incident, something happens that somebody likes, somebody feels misunderstood or judged on either side, and they go tell their coworkers and their friends and their family members, and so the relationships have been corroded from the inside out and from the outside in, right? One situation at a time. And so why not have the hope and the belief that we can heal it one conversation at a time, that we can bring people together so that they can see each other's humanity. So these conversations aren't a Pollyanna, like, oh, isn't it great that we're all humans? It really starts with talk about a time you felt judged by youth to the police officers. And for youth to say, talk about a time you felt judged by a police officer. Not to talk about what you've seen on social media and what you've seen in the media in general, what you heard happened that you weren't there. What have your personal experiences been? What have you seen and felt with your own eyes? And so that conversation, it's a long conversation. It's not just one day, and we don't just throw people in a room. We have a 1-hour conversation with youth first, confidentially, a 1-hour conversation with police to first talk about what are your hopes and fears of even going into a conversation like this before you just get in a room together. And then over that 4 hours of conversation together, there's also lunch together, because we know if nothing brings people together, food will. And so while it starts starts with times you felt judged. In there, we're talking about what are hopes and goals that you have and what are you doing to accomplish them. And so you notice people. So while I feel like it's a drop in the bucket for me, often I leave these dialogues and I'm crying all the way home because of how hard the conversation has been and what it does to me as a bridge in the situation. But when I see the evaluation forms and I see that people didn't just say, here's what I can do personally to improve relationships between us, but when I actually see on their evaluation forms what they're going to do and hearing stories about what they're actually doing, I know that although it may just feel like a drop in a vast ocean, we are healing each wave of that ocean conversation by conversation. And so I'm not just proud, but I'm blessed to be a part of this work. I'm proud to be doing it with people who believe in change. So Shantae and Michelle both just became mediators because we had an uprising basic mediation training. So what we did is after the uprising, we said, what can we do more? And I volunteered my time to do a basic mediation training. It's a 45-hour class for people who just were inspired by the uprising to be the change. And both Michelle and Shantae were in that basic mediation training in October of 2015. And now they are the leaders of peace work in Baltimore City. And that is not a small thing. That is Baltimore at its best. And so I'm proud to be a part of that story.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so my name is Joe Banks. I've been on the Baltimore City Police Department for 17 years. And I want to thank Brandon for inviting me to that first session. And I want to thank Erica because she and our staff did a great job at breaking us all down and getting us all back together. When we first entered, just like Brandon said, we were all divided. Police on one side, the youth on the other side. And I guess going in, all the officers, we thought that the youth was just going to just throw everything at us and we would be standing up there defending ourselves. And because they were kids and we were adults, that we'd have to take the higher ground. And we would be telling them and teaching them, well, this is how it is. But it is a different time. Our youth are going through things that even when I was a youth, we didn't have to worry about. And so we're sitting in this class, and as she warmed us up, we started to intermingle and real conversations happened. And I believe, I'm not going to be long, I'm going to end it here, but I believe that this exposure was a really good thing. When we left, I believe the youth had a different take on how officers are, and that we are real people. And then I believe that the officers actually got a chance to see that the youth are going through some things that, in some cases, we have no clue or no idea of how hard it is for them to grow up and make really good decisions. As a youth, we had people pushing us, neighbors pushing us. One of the things in the community is getting the neighbors together to talk to each other. And we're asking them, look, we need you guys to help us with the youth. So, in my opinion, I believe that you guys did a great job. I enjoyed it. I can't wait to do it again. And I'm definitely going to be as nervous as I was the first time. Those kids, oh my gosh, those kids, and here I am, a police officer trained to go out and do things. So, but that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've got any questions for anyone in the group?
I just have a quick question, probably for Shantae. Have any of the students involved students from Frederick Douglass High School?
So the pilot that happened in 2015 was with 3 schools. It was with Vanguard, it was with City Neighbors, and it was at the Good Now Center, thanks to Ms. Gloria Jenkins for providing Good Now. Of the 20 schools that we've got in our lineup, and I'm happy to provide the press with that list, I don't believe that Frederick Douglass is on the list. Those spaces went very quickly. As soon as news went out about this program existing, we were getting flooded with phone calls. That's not to say that Frederick Douglass would not be included if they were interested in next school year.
For This is just about the way the new year started out, with kind of this ongoing string of shootings. Just curious.
So it's early January. January has historically been a challenging month in Baltimore, no matter what the year. And the moment you think it's 21 degrees outside and that this type of violence wouldn't occur outside, we have experienced that so far early this year, not unlike years past. So when three masked gunmen run into a barbershop and execute someone, that tells me that that's a premeditated act that those three folks plan to do. And again, so much of the violence is retaliatory. It's planned, and a lot of thought goes into it. So we're just going to stick to the game plan of violent repeat offenders, making sure that geographies that are prone to violence receive extra police attention, which is happening. And I think you'll hear a little bit later today about some successes we had last night with some carjacking apprehensions.
Commissioner, how many can?
No, we'll talk about it later. Commissioner, how many of these murders are happening in daylight?
Well, so far this year, the daylight outdoor murders are the trend. Now, we had in 2016, 81% of our murders occurred outdoors. 57% of them approximately were headshots. So those are up close, personal, premeditated acts of violence. We have to stay in front of what is going on within BGF. There are certain factions within that gang, and they're at war with one another within their own organization, and it impacts overall violence in the city. Our federal partners, particularly ATF and DEA, are committed to doing more with BGF in 2017. We indicted over 100 BGF gang members in 2016. That's not as effective as it should be, because there's a next generation of young people in that organization who otherwise need to be afforded opportunities to live their lives in a non-criminal way that just take the place of the folks that we pick off.
Thank you.
Okay.
Sure.
Yes.
Has the consent decree been signed at this moment?
The consent decree has not been signed at this moment, and what I can tell you is that, I think it was midnight I talked to you last night? Midnight. We're working way into the late hours of night. Our goal, as I said before, is to get the consent decree done, and I think that we're very, very close. So that's where we're headed. We want to get it done.
The Attorney General is here tomorrow for a 4 o'clock event at the University of Baltimore. My understanding is she may be doing an event at City Hall or wherever it's going to be earlier before that.
If we get that consent decree signed, we'd welcome that opportunity. We're just not there yet.
Mayor, how close are you?
Very close.
Should we expect it tomorrow?
There should be a media alert. If in fact that is the case, there'll be a media alert sometime today, am I correct?
Yes, ma'am.
If that is the case. We're still working, so I want to run to Annapolis. I want to get back. I want to see if we can get that signed. We got a lot of work to do.
Madam Mayor, how much of what's remaining relates to money?
None of it. None of it. None of it.
Can you provide any more details now that you're very close?
I'm excited. We're that close. 32 days, you all. 32 days on the job. We're that. Can you see it through there, Gene? We're that close.
I know that the citizen participation in the disciplinary trial boards is a priority.
You know that is absolute, and I'm going to tell you all, and DOJ report or not, I have said from the very beginning that citizens' participation on the trial boards is important to me. I've said it to the FOP directly, and as I said to Gene, I need to get everybody back to the table as quickly as possible. I met with them earlier this week, and that we don't have to communicate. We want you all to know what we're talking about, but I want to be able to directly talk to people individually. And so we're going to get everybody back at the table. And as you well know, the other part of that is legislation. And I don't, I'm not in the habit of breaking negotiated contracts, but I am and will continue to be in the habit of protecting the citizens of Baltimore and answering their call. They have asked for citizens on trial boards. We're in agreement, and if we, again, whether it's in the DOJ or not, that is one of my focuses
Have
legislatively.
you been advised that it is a matter of collective bargaining, that it's in
It
your
is.
contract?
No, it
so It has
isn't.
to be bargained out.
Well, it either through our negotiations, we let that go, and my preference is that we let that go in negotiations. But we're coming to the table very quickly. You know, we have till April 10th to pass legislation if we have to. If I have to go that route, I'll go that route.
Madam Mayor, with the charges filed against Gary Brown earlier this week, how can the people of Baltimore be confident that your campaign for mayor was run ethically, that you fundraised legally?
Well, let me just be real clear. We know that things happen. I mean, we raised over $2 million. And if there is anything wrong with the funds that we receive, they would go back. We have in our system, be very clear, that we have in our system trying to catch every glitch that we possibly can. We have returned checks in the past, and we would do that again if it's necessary.
And what you be a little bit more specific?
About the closeness?
Just a little bit more.
But you can't even see through there. Can you see through there? Jane just told me she can't see through that.
Is there something, at least one piece that you're hung up on, or that either side is hung up on? Can you-
Well, I was pretty comfortable. Let me just tell you, I was up till midnight last night, and I was pretty comfortable that I have to see the final documents. I was pretty comfortable with where we are currently, and I'm pretty sure that we can get to that point.
Any pressure with Ms. Lynch being here tomorrow?
No, I welcomed her to our box for the Army-Navy game. I look forward to seeing her. I may stop over, where's she speaking at? University of Baltimore? Yeah, we may do that as well.
Okay, just one more
Madam
quick
Mayor,
question
did Gary
about Gary
Brown have a
Brown.
formal role with fundraising for your mayoral campaign?
Gary Brown has worked for us for almost a decade and worked in the campaign, absolutely.
He works for you, excuse me, right now in your communications office.
Yes, he does.
Can you characterize your relationship with him in general? I mean, how would you characterize?
We're going to take one more question.
Well, let me just say, as a individual that I've watched grow over the last 10 years, I met him when he was campaigning for the State Central Committee. He has his own business. He's worked nationally. He is a very good legislative person, so yes.
Will you keep him on in your office now that?
Well, I think everybody is innocent, and, you know, I always stand on the side that people have the right to, you know, if you're innocent until proven otherwise.
Do you know the source of the $18,000 in that case?
No, I didn't handle the funds. That's not my job.
One more question, just one more
Yes,
question.
you mentioned going to Annapolis. What are
Yes.
some of your priorities?
Education, of course, as you well know, we're seeking to be able to appoint the members to the school board. That is a priority for us. We do have legislation drafted as it relates to citizens on trial boards. Those are some of our issues. We are concerned about educational funding. That is a priority for us. And so I have conversations with the governor thus far. As it relates to the State Center project, I want a State Center in Baltimore. I want those 3,000 citizens to be, those folks who are working at State Center, to be working in Baltimore in a specific area. I don't want them spread off so that they can move and we don't know about it. I want them in a State Center building.
So you're supportive of the study to look at an arena?
Well, you know, I haven't even completely read through that particular report. I'm really focused right now on neighborhood development and community development and how we're going to spread money throughout the city to make our neighborhoods better.
All right, folks, the mayor's got to get to Annapolis.